Okay, my friends, they are holding hearings today on UFOs, and they are real. They know they're real, but they have no idea what to do about them, and they never will have any idea what to do with them because physics is totally, completely wrong. And the reason physics is wrong is that the protons are not made of one gigantic positive particle. It's not true. They're made out of a ton of little particles, and every one of them is what we would call an electron. But electron is not just a negative particle. This is what an electron actually is right there. It has a glowy side and it has a dark side. I'm going to show you this because we have seen them, and I can show you this, no question whatsoever. When two of these are back to back, they make a photon, and that's what we use as light. We didn't use the heavy particles that CERN used. We could see the particles, and every single proton is made of 1,839 or so electrons, and they're all dipoles. But because there's an uneven number, it becomes a positive particle. It wants one more to become a neutron. And guess what? If you take the weight of a proton and you add one more weight of what they consider to be the weight of an electron to that proton, it is exactly the same weight as a neutron. So if you, it's all it is everything's made of electrons. And when you have nuclear decay, you can have it come in big chunks, little chunks, tiny little particles, and that's what they're doing when they slam these together. They see all kind of debris. Let me show you what they should be looking at. It's the stuff that we do. Okay, I really don't have a whole lot of answers here right now, but I can show you the research that we did. It verifies what Fermilab said, is there's a fixed particle, which is this black one. And then there's a point particle that they say it has almost no value at all other than explosive value, and I agree, and that's it right here. So that's a point particle, can go big and small. That's the fixed particle. This is from light. It's light from a laser, a pulse laser. So if it's light, it's light. And what is light? Light is a photon. And what is a photon made of? Well, it's made of this right here. And what is that? There's one black particle right there, and there's one white particle right there. Now, they're side by side. They're just like two bar magnets. You see this? Boom, boom. And that's why a photon will bounce off of you. One of these only is what's called an electron. We never knew it had a dark side. And that is where all the mass is. That's literally all the mass is there. The point particle here has almost no mass, but a hell of a lot of energy. This just has a ton of mass and no real energy other than attraction. It's the carrier of this, as you can see right here. Now, what happens when we accelerate that? And how would we accelerate it? Through a Venturi. Venturi is what's called an atomizer. It crushes, atomizes, and accelerates. That's just the nature of its restrictive nature. I mean, what it did, we created this to force the particle to accelerate and display itself. And when it did, right here, it actually did fission and fusion. This is raw energy, exactly what CERN, Fermilab, and all of them wanted to see. The muon neutrino, electron neutrino turning into just a sterile muon and an electron shower. Here it is. Now, I'd like to talk to Avi Loeb up at Harvard because he was on today saying about the aliens. I'd like to get into the discussion. I have some very valid information here. Okay, everybody that's been following me knows I do mud fossil research, and I also do research on light. And I can tell you right now, I sort of understand what's going on here. The dark and the white around it is basically the separation of power. Okay, we all have heard about black holes. It's always a black spot surrounded by white, just like we saw in that UFO. Okay, this was done in space with ionized particles of micron-sized dust injected into a vacuum chamber, and this is what it created. And I understand why, because this is literally the dark matter. It can be pushed to the center, but only in a vacuum chamber in space. Now, those UFOs have done basically the same thing, and somehow they've created their craft to have this characteristic, and then they must be inside of that. How they did that, I don't know. All right, I didn't want to freak people out, to be perfectly honest with you. I got these images about a year or so ago from somebody who just got a new phone and had an app in there, apparently, that was looking for polar fields and took pictures of the night sky. And here's what he found. And apparently, and I don't know much about this, and it kind of freaked me out, I got to be perfectly honest with you. But it proved everything I was saying about dipoles. You see, everything has a dark and a black side, everything. And then I saw these kind of things, and I said, whoa, what the hell is this? Now, if you're taking a picture of the moon from the Earth, there shouldn't be all this stuff in front of the moon. What's it doing there? Well, then I found out that there is some magnetic fields on the moon, and this is all about magnetic fields. And there's some intense ones in a certain place. I don't know if this is what it's doing. I have no idea. But there's some kind of polar interaction here. And then look at this stuff here. I mean, it literally freaked me out when I saw it. I was in shock. But these are the kind of things that I was really most interested in, was these polar fields, in these dipole fields. And you see here, everything is dipoles. Now this is a bit pixelated, but not bad at all. And you look up here and you say, what the hell is going on here? Are these, we can't see these UFOs pretty much. The only ones that can see it is Air Force and so forth. People see these little things going here and there, and they have no idea. The Air Force tracked that one. You saw it. It was black and white. That's the key. That would what tripped me off. Once again, all dipoles, and that just appears to be the stars. Now, and again, I don't know much about these. He just sent them to me. He says, I don't know, I just took these pictures. What do you think? And I said, whoa, I don't know what I think. It appears this is the moon, and the moon does not appear to be a dipole where everything else is. The moon has a blue pole. There's another one Dylan sent me. This, I would assume, is Venus. I'm not sure, but I mean, there's a hell of a lot of dipole interaction here. Now, this, as far as I know, is the moon. Now, you see the blue halo here, and you see the orange halo down here? It's either going this way, concussing, causing compression of the frequencies, giving us blue, and shifting them into like the reddish-orangish area as it goes this direction, or it's just nature. I don't know. I have no idea. But it's not what you consider a dipole. And you hear about people saying the moon gives off a cold light. Well, everything right now in my mind is in flux. I have no idea really. Well, I know personally that everything is constructed of dipoles. There is no such thing as a big solid proton in the center. It's all made of dipoles. In other words, a proton is not this. It is this. And every one of these is an electron, which is one of those black and white particles. And two electrons together is a photon. Now here's another picture he took. I have no idea. Again, I have no clue whatsoever, but I am seeing these kind of fields that are just blow me away. And it appears that it's on this side of the moon. I don't know what to say about it, but you can see exactly what I'm seeing. I don't know what to say. I have no idea what to say. But even this is a dipole nature. You see the dark side here and the whitest side up here, all these polar interactions, and I don't know, very, very strange. Okay, this was the same picture taken at 9:40 at night, and then the other one was taken at, this was taken at 10:20 the same night, and apparently Dylan said it was the night of a blood moon. Now, this goes back, this wasn't a very recent one, because I just heard there was a blood moon, I don't know, a day or two ago. But this was, a year or two ago. I think a year ago. All right, those pictures from Dylan, from the blood moon and all that stuff, I have that as August of 2021, so that's when I logged those pictures in. I can't remember when I got them, but It was somewhere in that area. Now, everything changes when you go into the electron flood theory, which I showed you. The nucleus is made of nothing more than these particles right here. We've never known a black one existed. That's dark matter. It's a muon. It's the carrier. It's the boson. It's all of those things. And it doesn't emit. It doesn't absorb. It doesn't do anything other than attract. It is gravity. The two of them together are solidly locked. They talk about the weak force and the strong nuclear force. Well, this to me is pretty damn strong. They stay together, and the only way we could get them apart is putting them through this venturi. And we were able to split them. That's the particle. It looks just like this. When it comes forward, the leading white particle charges up, and as it charges up, it flips, and then the bottom one comes forward, and then that flips, because they charge. That's the muon wobble. All right, you've seen that particle, the little black and white one there. That's the electron. Well, the two electrons together make the photon. Is that dust all over my screen? It could be. Now, what do we have here? This is the light wave coming through the air, and what does it do? It concusses with all the other electrons that are in the air, which are attached to every other particle that exists. It's loaded with these same particles. There's nothing different. So this one is the pusher. These ones get shoved out of the way. So it's push to shove. You get glow, and you get extreme glow. Now what happened? As the wave started to approach the venturi, it became extremely excited and was forced to accelerate, and actually the particle left the wave, concussed at the venturi, and then these two particles actually separated. That is what's called fission, right here, and then fusion when they came back together. In between is enough energy to do just about anything you'd ever want to do. Okay, my friends, this is going to be enlightening for sure. We're talking about UFOs. What are they doing around us, and where'd they come from? That is a doorway they just found up on Mars. Now, it may be a doorway, it may not be a doorway, but they actually sent drones inside to look around. I'm going to show you that later. But let me tell you what I think, and I'm going to show you that I think it's quite likely that there was inhabitants up there, and they may. Mars is obviously dead now. They had to go somewhere. Well, guess what? Earth looked pretty good to them. And now listen to this. This goes back quite a ways.
Some people think there is life on Mars.
I see a vast network of channels crisscrossing the planet. Obviously the work of intelligent Martians. The simplicity and symmetry cannot...
It would be possible with larger telescopes to see cities on Mars, to detect navies in its harbors.
The inhabitants of Mars are vast, cool, and unsympathetic intellects, looking across space at the planet Earth with envious eyes. Are they planning an invasion?
Well, good question.
We've been looking at Mars the way artists and writers imagine it. A planet of jungles and deserts, inhabited by monsters, and of course, beautiful women. Well, I'm happy to say that they are wrong. Mars is far more mysterious than that, and far more surprising.
Well, you got that right. All right, my friends, Okay, you've seen my research a little earlier showing the dark and the white particles, and apparently they're using this same technology. Now listen to this. This is from CNN News, and this is just this morning. I ran and grabbed a camera, and this is what they're talking about. And Avi Loeb from Harvard, I would like to discuss with him my research, because you'll hear what he has to say, and I would think that somebody saying these kind of things would like to engage, so that's what I'm hoping for. Here goes.
It is almost a year after a U.S. intelligence report examined 144 reports of so-called unidentified aerial phenomena since 2004 and could only explain one.
This is not tinfoil hats and, conversations of Elvis being on the mothership. This is a very serious national security issue. Something is in our skies. It has been there for quite some time, and we're just now having the conversation publicly about it.
Okay, let's bring in Avi Loeb. Professor, of Science at Harvard. Professor, so nice to have you for this important topic of the day. What exactly are we going to hear today? Is this a serious national security issue?
Well, we don't know because the government is unable to identify the nature of these objects. And there are two possibilities. Either they are a national security threat, we just cannot figure out some technologies that our adversaries possess, or it's a matter of science. We are dealing with something that came from outside of this earth.
I know that maybe 50 years ago there were hearings in Congress where a scientist just said this was swamp gases or something. At the time, that was seen as such a flippant remark, right? But we're really taking a serious look at what this is. Some of these images, I mean, these are fast-moving vehicles, objects with no propulsion that looks like, I mean, can't identify how they're moving. You write in an essay that the biggest question you want answered is, can we get the highest quality data to scientists who will analyze it methodically and quantitatively? Explain that.
That's right. So what we need is high quality data. That's the way science is guided. And at the moment, the government doesn't release the classified information, the data that it has. The sky is not classified, so in principle, we are initiating the Galileo project that I'm leading, which aims to collect new data and see if there are any objects that are not natural or human-made in the sky. But it would be nice if the government would share the data that it possesses with scientists so that we can analyze it, because that's the only way by which we can figure out what the nature of these objects is.
As Christine said, this is the first public hearing on UFOs in over 50 years. Why, Professor, is now a good time to do all of this?
Well, from a scientist's point of view, it's a very good time because we have much better instruments right now. In fact, we are assembling the first telescope system on the roof of the Harvard College Observatory to do just that, to monitor the sky and see if there are any objects that are unusual. And
I just want to say something. You can do this with your cell phones. Smartphones can pick up all of these things. They use them for cosmic ray detectors. They've been doing this since 2014, somewhere around there. You just look it up. Smartphones used as cosmic ray detectors. All you're picking up is brilliance, radiance, and emission. There's nothing special here. And all of the top physicists use basically the same thing. It's CMOS technology. Absorbs frequencies and turns them into pictures. I mean, he's right. There's new technologies. We can see all this stuff now. But you can hold it in your hand. That's what we did. Everything I showed you of our research was done with a smartphone.
I think this is not a philosophical question. It's a question that can be answered by getting high-resolution images and figuring out what these objects are. We should get rid of the term unidentified from our lexicon. The government is interested in knowing what these objects are. The public wants to know. Let's clear up the fog and move on.
Exactly. All right, again, here's Avi Loeb. I'm going to finish it up here.
And to figure out what it is, we need to get better data. That's the way science is done, and we need to get rid of the stigma and ridicule that they had in past decades on this subject, and just address it scientifically.
Not just that subject. Every subject that is outside of the realm of locked-in science, like geology. I have completely upended geology with my mud fossil research. Not allowed. Light research we did. Not allowed. 7 years ago. Everything I showed you was done 7 years ago. My mud fossil research is about Mars and here on Earth, same stuff. That was done long ago. And it was definitely proven with the DNA and CAT scans and all that 7 years ago. So it's time to start opening up. I'd like to talk to Avi Loeb. He's from Harvard. I would assume that would be something you'd be interested in. Because I think they might have come from Mars. Who's to say they didn't? The other thing is Admiral Byrd said they're living inside the Earth, and the Earth is literally hollow. And I don't see any reason it wouldn't be. There's not a single thing that they've talked about that's correct. I showed you a black hole in space, and all the white stuff are surrounded, and that was the stuff you can see, and there was a black hole in the center. Let's look at it one more time. There's no reason the Earth can't be hollow. They have no idea what they're talking about in physics now. All right, we know we had black and white matter. This is out in space in a vacuum chamber with charged particles. You can see them surrounding the dark matter. I believe that's exactly what we have. This is the surrounding Earth, and the center is hollow. And I believe there are creatures living in there. That's what Admiral Byrd said. He said when he went to the South Pole on their mission, they actually went inside the Earth. They were taken inside the Earth, talked to the Supreme Leader, and he told them that we were in big trouble because of what we're doing and destroying the Earth and the nuclear bombs and all that stuff. And this is a national security threat, but we are causing our own threat to ourselves. We're destroying the planet. Just look at what's going on. It's a disgrace. And they said to him, they said, we tried not to interfere with your barbaric ways. And barbaric is being polite. And I could see where we could be in serious trouble here. And we're in serious trouble anyway because of what we've done to the Earth. All right, here's another shot out in the space station. They have a bubble of water, they're spinning it, and it's loaded with a bunch of little air bubbles, which is the same as dark and white particles. And watch what happens to it in space. It sets up
bunch of little tiny air bubbles.
It sets up a pole.
And we will see what
Which
the
would be
angular
hollow.
acceleration due to rotation does to these air bubbles as a function of time. What you are observing are the bubbles moving to the center axis of rotation.
Just like they would
As
in
a
the
function
Earth.
of time, they will form this rather tightly packed bubble core.
That's
These
just like the
bubbles are
dark
kept
matter.
from coalescing from a small amount of added surfactant to the water.
Otherwise, there'd just be one bubble in the center.
Here we have a rotating sphere filled with bubbles and tea leaves, and as expected, the bubbles go to the center and the tea leaves go to the outside edge, along with a few chunks of orange peel.
It's just like our planet Earth. All right, this is up on Mars. This is the Perseverance rover, and they sent a helicopter inside this cave. That is the top of the cave entrance. Now watch. They're inside with a little helicopter flying around in there. And this is from the Perseverance, and they're looking at what are we looking at in here? All right, this is the Perseverance up here. Now they're looking around and they're trying to figure out what's going on with this. What's going on here? Maybe somebody built that? Well, who knows? This is up on Mars, and there's a lot of things on Mars I have found. No question whatsoever. Mars was biological at one time, exactly the same as Earth. So I see no reason that if they could figure out a way to get here from there, which they obviously can with the kind of technology they have, they should easily be able to have come here when Mars was destroyed. And it was destroyed, as Velikovsky spoke, not long ago, because Venus almost hit it. And it also caused a cataclysm on Earth, which created my mud fossils. That's information that I have that shows that the Earth really was wrenched and we had a cataclysmic flood here. Okay, just like Avi Loeb said, we need to see what's there and investigate it. These are the Mars blueberries. I understand exactly what they are. They are interstitium balls from a giant creature that died and his body eroded, just like we have here on Earth. This is the Mars crab. That is an artery. That's a vein. These are the blood vessels that go into these, which are called sarcomeres. They are muscle. This was a gigantic creature, exactly like we have here on Earth, which are absolutely enormous. Physics girl was in Alaska in a cave that was literally a digestive system. Think of how big the digestive system would be for something this size. This is literally gigantic. You see that? That's Mars Morse code. That is skin. That's the interstitium in the skin. These straps are pulled because the skin is pinched here, and stretched in the middle. Here it's normal. It's not pulled or stretched. And down here, it's eroded to where all that's left is the balls, which are tough as hell, the little Mars blueberries I showed you, only these are much bigger. Because there's all different sized creatures were here. And it has eroded away because the straps are less dense than the balls. The balls are just tough. They just don't go bad normally. Now, and then the rest is a bloody matrix. I'll show you what interstitium looks like in a creature on Earth, which is just as big. All right, I know this is shocking. It's absolutely, totally shocking. I don't disagree with that. But this is interstitium, which is skin, or it's basically called fascia, periosteum. There's a bunch of different things, but it's basically a membrane. And there is these black balls that are the anchors, that they're tough as hell. They do not degrade. All this stuff is floppy and wears away. Just like I showed you on the Mars Morse code. And these are the Mars blueberries, these little black jobbers. Now look at this. This is in England somewhere, in the United Kingdom. This is the mucosa layer, which is the same thing we have here. You see this? You got the mucosa, then you got all that gooey stuff, which easily erodes. All of this stuff turns into mud, literal mud, red clay mud, and the black balls don't degrade. And here's exactly what it did. There's no question this is it. How can you possibly deny that? I know it's so spectacular that the average person, oh, they run away and hide in a corner. I don't hide. Just like Avi Loeb says, let's just confront it and see what we got. Let's confront it and see what we got. The Earth is literally, was, or is a living creature. What we are doing to the Earth is a disgrace. If it's a living creature, oh my God. Is it dead? I don't know. It seems to be doing bodily functions here and there. I'm seeing things that I can't explain, other than the fact that something is basically either coming to life or is still alive, and that's the nature of it, just to give life to everything else. It's a living creature giving life to more living creatures. That's about what I came to. But what we've been doing to the Earth is not going to be alive much longer. I can't imagine if it still is. So, Avi, get somebody in your biology department and ask them what sarcomeres look like, if these might be sarcomeres, and if this could be red flesh. And inside the treasury at Petra, if this could be a muscle and bodily tissues, connective tissues, red, fleshy, artery, vein, blood coming in, artery, blood coming in, and it's all bodily tissues. This is... The whole Earth appears to have, the surface at least, is completely, totally covered with creatures. And gigantic creatures, absolutely enormous. I've shown it over and over and over. And that right there is the dragon in Morocco. If you go up and look at it, you can't miss it. It runs all the way across North Africa. That is the throat. Completely covered with dragon scales, got that little fluty stuff. You can laugh all you want. I've been laughed at so much that there's no more laugh that I can... I'm not worried about being laughed at. I'm worried about getting some truth on the table. And if Avi Loeb from Harvard University speaks about truth and refuses to talk about this, that wouldn't be really, it wouldn't look good. So let's see what Avi Loeb has to say. And Harvard, Yale, all of them. I've been trying to see anybody will look at any of this stuff, and nobody will. Now we're hitting something against the wall here. If we've got political people talking, now we might be able to get something done. All right? I love you all. Goodbye.